All right, the plans call for three different brass bolts. One of them is 1 inch long. The other two are 3/8 inch long, threaded 3/8/24. The difference between the two 3/8, one of them has a thicker head than the other. But I'm not going to make all of them on video. I'm going to make one, and instead of trying to walk you through step by step, I'm just going to tell you what I'm going to do. Go ahead and do it, and not spend so much time on just making some brass bolts. This is a piece of 3/4 inch stock. I'm going to turn it down to 3/8, then thread it for 3/8/24, part it off. I'll carry it over to the milling machine then and mill a hex on the head, bring it back over here and drill it out to the specifications for one of the particular bolts on the drawing. So we'll get started with the, I already have the change gears in here now, so I'll not be using the power feed on there because it would be trying to feed it at 24 threads per inch. So I'm just going to be hand turning this or hand feeding this to turn it down. Alright, this is, if you're following along in the plans, this is item, line item number 6. It's on page 7 of the prints. This is the trigger bushing. The other brass bolts will have some of them will have a shoulder in here for either the nozzle or the piston, one or the other. So, but they'll all be made the same way. Line item 7 on the print is the next item I'm going to work on. This is the piston. I'm using 3/8 stock, 3/8 round stock, and I have these cut pieces a little over 2 inches long to work with. Going to start out for the piston has 2 ends, trigger end and a ram end. The trigger end needs to be turned down to, the plans say 0.183. I'm going to try to get it a little closer than that and try to 0.187. I believe that'll be a little better fit. Okay, that's a good fit on that. Alright, I have the trigger end turned on the pieces now. Of course, there's only one of these pieces per can, but as I've said before, I'm making 4 of the cans. So I've got the trigger end of the piston turned down. I've got it mounted in a collet in the chuck now. The largest diameter for this end, for the ram end, is 0.280, so we're going to come down to that first. Right on the money, 280 thousandths. Now we want to cut the O-ring groove. The O-ring groove is 1/2 inch, nope, 375, 3/8 of an inch from that shoulder. So we will go back, we'll set our 0. Alright, that's zeroed out, sitting on the X. We're at 280, and our O-ring groove should be 188. That's 92 thousandths. We need to go in for the groove. Alright, and it says the groove should be 65 thousandths. This parting tool is 63 thousandths. I'm not sure. I'm just going to clean that out. Now from there it says we need to move over 0.6 inches. course, I'm taking into consideration the thickness of the parting tool as I'm doing this, and I'm just going to put a witness mark right here. Now that should be brought down to 0.234. I need a little bit more of a witness mark there. And this is simply going to be a shoulder for the piston spring to ride on. I've left my piece a little bit long. Okay, I had left everything a little bit long on that end, so I'm going to push it up now. Push it up tight to the collet, and then face this end off to length. This end right here again is just for the spring to fit over. So I can zero out the Z there and come back 80 thousandths. And set the stop. And that's where we just simply want to face off to. This is the O-ring groove right here. This is what the spring will ride on. The trigger cap will be down here. This item is line item number 8 on the drawing, and it's the trigger button. What we're making is just a little brass button. I'm going with 5/8 of an inch diameter material. It's not specified in the drawing, but I'm going to use 5/8, and we're going to round off this side. After I get 4 of these cut, we're going to put a different collet in, turn them around, and drill them for the piston, the trigger end of the piston to go into. Alright, I'm going to make the rest of these, and I'll bring you back when we get turned around for the next operation. Alright, I have the buttons made now. Whoops. That went in the drink. I'll have to find it. But what I'm going to do now to hold these so that we can drill the back side of them and of course clean that up, I'm using, I cut these 5/8 diameter. I'm using a collet, and I'm using my work stop. If you watch my other videos, you'll see that I did a video on this work stop back 1st of November of 2016. So check that video out if you hadn't seen it. But what it'll do, just load the piece in there. That'll keep it from falling in, and we'll load that in the collet. I cleaned up the little leftover tit that was on there from parting. I went ahead and did that on all the pieces so I could get the carriage out of the way, get everything set up for this process. These are 3/16 holes, and I'm going with a 64th less than 3/16. Zero out my DRO, and I'm going in 125 thousandths. And because there's a minor bit of variation between the pistons here, maybe a couple thousandths on each one, I'm going to start out. This is a 3/16 minus a thousandths. So we'll start with that first. And if that doesn't work, I'll go with the even one. But I believe that's going to be a good press fit. Item number 17 on the plans is called an outlet base lock nut, and there's no more detail or it's not mentioned anywhere else in the plan. But what it is to hold the see if I can get the plans maybe a little closer. The outlet spout, it's a lock nut simply to hold that spout tied up against the housing of the tubing. It, like everything else, is 3/8. What was that? 3/8 24, I believe. And I thought I had some video of actually making these, but not been able to locate that in the numerous hours of video. But all I did was take a piece of brass stock. This is about 600 thousandths in diameter. Knurled it, drilled and tapped for the 3/8 24, and then parted it off. If you're following along in the plans, what we're going to work on now is item number 20, line item number 20. It is the nozzle, and we're starting with 3/8 inch round stock, and it's these are cut to 1 inch length. I've cut it to a length of 1 inch. We're going to start out, of course, loading it in the collet. What we'll do is drill it all the way through. The plans call for 5/32. I'm going to drill it through with a 1/8 just to give a little more pressure at the nozzle. If that doesn't work out properly, I can always go back and drill it out a little larger. But we're going to drill it out with a 1/8. Going to for 3/8 of an inch deep. We'll drill and bore it out 1/4 of an inch. Then we'll turn it around and using the compound, put our 15-degree angle on there. Again, this is line item number 20 on the drawing sheet, on sheet 5. Alright, we have all the parts made now, and we're going to start with the pump housing that goes on the inside, and in the very top of it up here, item number 21 is a quarter 28 socket head, cap, quarter 28 hex head bolt, cut very, very short. This is the only bolt in the assembly I didn't make. It has an O-ring in it, which is line item number 9. Now down inside of that is a 3/16 stainless steel ball. That goes in there, and before you put it together, it's a good idea to take your punch, tap that in a couple times so that you've got a good seat in there, a good round seat in the event it was not a clean end to that. So that goes in. In top of that is line item number 12, which is a spring. I had to cut it off just a little bit, about 2/3 the original length of the spring from the master car. But that goes in there, and then this hex head in the top of that. Line item 14 is the pickup tube. Line item 13 is the bushing for the pickup tube, and it gets an O-ring, which is line item 22 on the top of that. Now it will also have a ball, and the same thing, drop your ball in that bushing, tap it, make a good seat for the ball with your punch. It will have the ball in there, but if I put it in now, it's going to fall back out. So I'll put it in through the top side, or through the face of it. Now that's all the housing we can put together, all the pump assembly we can put together now, until we get it in the tube itself. Between the valve body, I've been calling it the pump body, the valve body, between it and the tube gets a couple of rubber washers, line item number 16. Alright, the valve body is lined up in there now. I'm going to drop my other ball down inside of there. Then we have the piston assembly. First off, line item 8 is the cap we made out of brass. Line item 6 is the piston bushing. Then we have the piston itself, which is the let's see, that's line item 7, which is the piston, and it has an O-ring on it as well, line item 9. And on the end of that will be a spring. Now we just want to be sure that that ball we just dropped in there goes below this spring. That's mounted in there now. We have the spring assembly, and the ball is beneath that. Now another one of our washers will go in at the top. Line that up. Here we also have an O-ring, line item number 9. Again, it's very small, and it just drops in there. It will seal the entire spout assembly, which is the nozzle, which is line item 20, the tube itself, which is outlet tube, which is line item 19, line item 18 is the outlet tube base, and then line item 17 is the lock nut. This end will just press up against that O-ring. Then we'll use the lock nut to tighten that assembly to wedge this all together on the inside. All right. The next part, we want to test and be sure our cap assembly goes on there. Line item number 4 is our bolt 1032 that will be used to hold the cap on. And you want to be sure you don't have too many threads in there, but you have it so that it'll seal that down good. Inside that cap, the cap is line item number 3. And inside that cap we have line item number 15, which is an O-ring as well. Now, all this assembly will mount on a base. And I didn't mention it, but all these joints they were press fit in. The tube into the nozzle and into the bushing here, the cap onto the end of the piston. All that is secured with Loctite and has been given time to cure. So now we're going to put a little Loctite on our tube assembly. We want to be sure that there's plenty of it all the way around. Once that's sealed down there, I like to give Loctite, it says just a couple of hours, but I will give this at least overnight before I'll actually put any oil in there. But there's our finished assembly. I'll wipe this excess Loctite off the bottom. Hope you've enjoyed this video series. And as much so, I hope the brother-in-laws enjoy their oil can once they receive it.